Hello, everyone. So today I am very excited and a bit or very scared to do this episode, which is very special because I'm introducing my biggest project ever on the EEM project or endeavor, whatever you want to call it, which is the Positive Journal on Emotional Eating. So I'm going to introduce to you what it is, how to use the journal, and how it will help you, but also why I created it. So more personal things, why I created it, all of the behind the scenes, the emotions that came through it, and a bit of everything. Those that, just for those that are listening, not on Spotify. So Spotify, you will have the video with the pictures and everything, and like you can see the journal. And for the other guys that are listening on other platforms, you can go on Instagram. I have a lot of pictures, or also I will link in the show notes where you can buy it, and I've put a few pictures there. So let's get into this, and let's start first with how I feel this journal will help you really overcome or work on your emotional eating. So this journal, basically, you will see inside that there's nothing about food intake. It's not a journal about writing things that you've eaten and things that you've done and calories that you've burned. If you've been listening to this podcast, you know I'm really not about talking about those things. I feel them very triggering, and I feel a lot of you guys know what to eat and not to eat, but you don't know why you ate that cake, that sandwich, that biscuit, although you promised yourself you wouldn't do so. And this is what the journal will help you do. It's going to raise your awareness of what emotions actually triggered my eating, how are my emotions linked to my eating behavior, and how to bring more compassion, more love, more, self-care to myself, how to find other ways. And if you've been listening to, my podcast and everything, you know that compassion is so important to overcome emotional eating. There is one thing that I always say, that when our level of well-being drops, let's say between 0 to 10, it drops to 4, this is when we're going to go to food to soothe our emotions. And this is actually what I've put in the podcast. What I've put in the journal. Let me share this with you now. First things first, so the journal, if you see it, so this is it. It looks a bit like spongy, if you want, from the outside. And the idea was to create something very soothing. A lot of people told me, are you going to do a digital version? And there's no digital version, because for me, in order to overcome emotional eating, we have to kind of put ourselves first, do self-care practices. And writing a journal, for me anyway, is a really big self-care practice. I've actually been journaling all my life. I'll show you later on in this episode all my journals from when I was younger and everything. So I really wanted to do a physical product only. And so you open it, and if you notice, it's like the color, there's a lot of purple inside. And the idea was because every color will generate an emotion in you in us as humans. Purple is the color of emotions. So I really wanted to incorporate colors that will soothe you, that will really work with our emotions, compared to, let's say, red, where it's more fiery and you wouldn't tap into your emotions. So you open it, of course, there's a very of course, I just here put Eleanor, just as an example, if found, please return to. And then here I put a nice quote that I really like by Paulo Coelho from The Alchemist, which says, "You will never be able to escape from your heart, so it's better to listen to what it has to say. That way you'll never have to fear an unanticipated blow." I feel it's really, really relevant, because basically, which says, listen to your heart, listen to your emotion, listen to your inside. This way you won't get an unanticipated blow. And I feel that the biggest unanticipated blow when we don't listen to our emotions is the binge or the emotional eating, or not everyone does a proper binge, but going to food. And a lot of you guys tell me, it's really, I didn't expect it. It's I'm possessed by my emotions. I'm possessed by something and I'm eating and eating. And sometimes I call it emotional hijack. which is really relevant. And The Alchemist is one of my favorite books. I've read it when I was younger, and I've read it again, and every time I learn something new. Here a bit about myself, how to use this book. As many of you guys know, so I'm a healthcare expert, I'm a pharmacist, and I have a PhD in genetics. So really using all the scientific critical thinking to put it here in the journal. And just one thing I want to say, my sound is not the best this time because I'm using my phone to record this. As you know, like this is just the podcast and the journal and everything is an endeavor. I have another full-time job. So I'm trying, like I didn't invest in a camera yet. So just to let you know. So then I have some ideas on how to take care of yourself outside of food. Things that I always say in the podcast, something that is takes less than 5, 10, 20 minutes, like as much time as binge would happen or an emotional eating session would happen. With some ideas, I've had some feedback that, we don't want only things that are linked to meditation or more things that women would do. So also things linked to, I don't want to be gender biased, but it's a bit, I've tried to do different for different types, basically different ideas for different types. And then I left some blank for you guys that if you want to fill in things that help you. So as you see here, if you're on Spotify, you will see that there's a lot of purple. And the next page is actually my favorite one. So you might hear me turning the pages, which is this one. For those of you that are not, that cannot see, basically it's the wheel of emotions. The wheel of emotions that I always talk about in my podcast, which is the list of all the possible emotions that a human can feel, categorized by happy, surprised, fearful, angry, disgust, and sad. It's a wheel that I also use very often in my coaching sessions with people that I coach on emotional eating. You can see behind me also, I have the wheel of emotions. It's a bit like very present in my life, if you can imagine. But yeah, that's one of my favorite pages. And actually, I've noticed that a lot of people that saw the book really, like, it's one of their favorite page. And here comes the exciting bit and how to use this journal. So how to use it. So basically, you will find it's 6 cycles of 14 days each. So in total, a bit less than 3 months of journaling. I really wanted, at the beginning, I put 100 days, and then I realized that no, it's a bit too intense for people just to fill in 100 days one after the other without learnings. So I divided them in 2 weeks because what I've noticed or realized in life, there's like challenges come usually in 2 weeks. Either you have a new job or a new breakup, or you're leaving your job, you have to make an important decision. For example, me, I'm using it now, launching my this journal, because I feel it's really generating a lot of emotions of fear and anxiety and not feeling good enough, and all those things that come from my childhood, perfectionism, all of this, they're coming now with this journal. So I'm using it to see how the launch of this journal is affecting my emotional eating. So you have here at the beginning, so in cycle 1, the first page is actually the page where you set a goal of what you want to achieve. So either understand yourself or even challenge yourself. For example, if you want to understand why you haven't done that diet, or like this diet didn't work for you. Also build compassion for yourself or develop new tools. So you can see here. Then you have the daily pages, 14 daily pages, really where I link, I ask questions about how much you ate based on your physiological hunger versus emotional during that day. And also linking your level of well-being and happiness. So you rate both of them. Understanding what emotions you had before that, what happened, how to bring self-compassion, and some learnings. So you can do it for 14 days. The idea at the beginning of the journal, what I wanted to do, but it didn't work with the printing company, was to have like all over, like around the edges of the page, emotions, names of emotion, let's say guilt, shame, anxiety, fear, whatever, and then you can open them as you go along, and then you see the most common ones that made you eat. But it didn't work, so I did it in another way in the conclusion pages. Let me show them to you. So in the conclusion pages, after the 14 days, you will have some questions to answer. Things like, did I achieve my goal? What is the current, so this is the thing, what is the current emotion that made me eat emotionally? Understanding how you were harsh on yourself, what you have learned, what you can do next time, and things like that. And also celebrating successes. Because if you've been listening to my podcast, you know how important it is to celebrate yourself, celebrate your successes, celebrate your work and everything in order to overcome emotional eating. A small thing that I've done that I think is really special personally, I mean, I don't know what you guys will think, is that the edges, you can cut them. You can cut the edges so that you know where, just one edge, the bottom one, so you know where you are in your day, so you don't have to open all over again. The journal, by the way, comes with a wire and not it's not like a hardback, because the idea for me is I want it to be the printing company told me it's a more how would you say left-handed and right-handed people would benefit more, because apparently that's left-handed people would prefer more something that you can close off. And also I thought it's better if you can really close it and open it the way you want it to. It is a series of few cycles, as I said. So you have cycle 2, again in purple. So you have colors that I feel are very soothing, with tones of pink and purple, but not only, because of I know that there's some also, I don't want to be too genderized, if you want, which again is a bit stupid when I say it, because there's no color for one gender, but anyway, I wanted to be more inclusive, and so I have blue and I have a bit of green, which reminds me of nature, and a bit of yellow. And at the end of the 6 cycles, you have the conclusion. So if you will see that all the colors inside will match a bit the cover. Just to remind, like it's all, I don't know, I found it all nice. And at the end is like a conclusion for everything, like things you've learned about yourself throughout the whole thing. And also, sharing these learnings with other people so that they understand you, and they can, they understand you. And like if you're going through a hard time, or they see you eating emotionally, they don't judge you, they don't criticize you, and all of this. I've left also like around 8 pages, I think, of notes, so that if you remember something that you want to include, it's all there. So this is how, this is what journal is, what it includes, and how to use it. Now I want to go to more emotional stuff on why I created it, how the idea came, a bit about, my journey, myself, and everything. And after that, I'll talk to you a bit about behind the scenes, about like how I worked with some printing companies. I'll show you the original ones that I created, how it all started from the idea to here. So for those watching the video, you can see all of those journals. Basically, I started journaling when I was really, really young. I was maybe, I don't know, I was probably 10 years old. I mean, I don't know, 10, 11. And I mean, the beginning, it was a bit stupid what I was used to write. I think it was really something that made me, I don't know, cope with life, deal with life. And I've been reading them again. And I saw in one of the journals, I was around 15 years old, and I said, I really want to help others understand themselves. That's what I want to do when I'm older. But first I need to understand myself, which really resonated with me. It's really like, it's really funny. But although this, all of this looks shiny and rosy and everything, I think, and I'm sure, and I know, this didn't come from like, oh my God, it's so great, I'm going to do this project. It came from a lot of suffering, which built a lot of strength. If you know my journey a little bit, I've done 21 diets in my life, starting before being a teenager. I was really, really body shamed. Everyone wanted me to lose weight. Although, like, if I look back at the pictures, that was more than fine. It was beautiful how I was. And I also had a very, I wouldn't say very challenging childhood. I would say challenging. I'm sure other people have more challenging with emotionally unavailable parents. And I mean, I'm not fully ready to tell my story just because out of respect for, my family and everything. But yeah, it wasn't easy. So I've done a lot of work on myself. I've done therapy, I've done coaching and everything. And when I was doing therapy, basically, I found this book by Janine Roth talking about emotional eating, and I realized, okay, maybe that's what I'm doing. I'm using food to cope with life. So better work. You can see I have my breathing is a bit more heavy because it's a bit emotional. So yeah, I started doing this, working on myself, and then I started doing meetup sessions online with people coming and discussing, like I was like kind of coaching group sessions. Then did the podcast, and then the idea of this, actually I didn't say I want to do something more. My idea was to make a podcast and to be as good as I can in the podcast. But this year in January, I remember I was walking home and I was listening to the Diary of a CEO, which I don't listen very often to him. Like, I mean, I listen to him. He's one of the podcasts I listen the most. But at the time, I was still discovering him, and he was with Jay Shetty, and Jay Shetty was saying something about journals that he thinks they're not very useful or something like that. And then Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of Sue, basically said, okay, you have to buy. He laughed and he said, buy my diary. And at this point, something clicked in my mind. I was just walking and listening. It was dark. And this was like, I'm going to create this journal. I'm going to create a journal for emotional eating. And I kept the idea to myself for a few weeks. And then because what I wanted to do, my podcast, I mean, it's growing and I feel it's one of the most listened podcasts on emotional eating, but there's still a lot. Like, it's not that I have millions and millions of views. So I thought, okay, I want my podcast to be a bit bigger, and then I'll do the journal. And then I spoke to someone close to me sharing this idea, and they told me, why wait? Why wait? Just do it now, So I did. I started looking at basically what happened. The first thing that I did is that I went on my laptop and I just on PowerPoint and I just put some ideas. I put the colors and inspirations that I wanted. I put the questions that came in 2 seconds. So that was the first iteration. And I guess if you want to know what inspired, like what pieces and bits and inspiration comes into this journal, there are a few things. Of course, the Diary of a CEO, as I said. Also, a hypnotherapist that's been on my podcast, and like I really, really like him. His name is Robin Tessia. He introduced me to the fact that our emotions are so linked to our level of happiness. Of course, not to forget Susie Orbach. Also, she's been on my podcast. Sometimes I work with her offline. She was the therapist of Princess Diana when she had bulimia. And she had this book in the 80s called Fat is a Feminist Issue, where she introduced like how we use food for so many reasons other than food. And in the book, she says like at night, just reflect on how was your day. So this inspired me. Of course, the work of Janine Roth, which is like for me the biggest inspiration. Also, a lot of the work of David Hawkins. I've spoken about him in like he passed away now. But I've spoken about his work and his books in the podcast, where he kind of had, how do you say, classified if you want, the emotions based on how they make us alive or how they bring us close to death. So the emotions like shame and guilt, which are so present in emotional eating, they're really low. So this is why I really wanted to make sure that we realize all the emotions that make us eat. And of course, not to forget about my younger self. That was the biggest inspiration, my journaling journey. Also, the gratitude journal by Mimi Econ, I think. I have like 4 of them. I really, really like them, and I have gifted the journals to many people. So all of these made me really inspired to do this journal for you guys. And I'm thinking of you guys that have tried it all, tried all the diets, then you're not ready for therapy, or you are ready for therapy, but you don't understand really why you're doing this emotional eating. Day on day you fail, or fail, quote unquote. Day on day you're like, okay, why did I do it? Like, and you kind of have those very bad and harsh inner self, inner talk, just to understand. And then you will understand, because I feel there is a lot of benefit to read books and to listen to podcasts and things like that. But until you journal day to day, what I've noticed with a lot of people I work on coaching sessions is that it's really hard to remember yesterday or last week what emotions I felt before eating. So when you journal it, it's in the present and you will know better. Now let's go a bit of behind the scenes. I think that's a bit interesting if you're either like thinking of doing something like that, or you're a bit curious, or you want to know more about me and this journey. So as I said, I started off with a digital version, and I printed it out. I, just showed it to a few people. It was a bit funny. I mean, not funny, but it was just a paper, and I was trying to find it, but I don't know where I put it. And then, so working with a designer and working with people to help me really understand what I need to do. Then I had this first version that I printed out myself. If you can see that it's wired, that I did it myself. And I had a few cover options. If you see this, and there was this and this. I was thinking maybe I should put some shine, metallic writings. So I had all those options. And then I feel my intuition was telling me nothing is working. I don't like any cover. So the inside was like almost the same, was the same basically. And I found it it was a hell yes, if you want. The cover was not a hell yes, but I had already agreed with the designer on she had done maybe 7. By the way, I discovered in this process that I think I'm a very annoying client. I think. So basically, the designer had done a few versions, and so then I went for this one, and I went for a printing company, and this version came, which I really, really didn't like. Not like my heart was not saying yes. The inside was really good, but my heart was not saying yes. So then I went back to the designer, started all over again, and then we came up with this cover. With here you can see rounded edges, which I feel is more like cocooning. I don't know why. And this, I don't know if you can see on camera. There's it's like a cushiony cover. So it's like really cocooning. It's time for you with your hot coffee in your bed, or in your it's a chair in the morning, either before everyone wakes up. I really like to do it like that. Or even at night before sleeping, instead of going on your phone and instead of hating yourself. So it's like the time for you. And it only takes 5 minutes. So if you think of it, it's also a self-help tool that you can use instead of eating. So this was everything. I mean, now it's available on Amazon and on Etsy, amazon.co.uk, because I'm based in the UK. So otherwise, because for also things I've discovered, every Amazon store, if you want, the .com, .fr, .co.uk, it's like they're separate. So if I want it to be available on all .com, whatever, or Canada or whatever, I have to have separate accounts there. And I'm not ready for this yet. I mean, I think I will do it at some point, but I'm doing it step by step. So now it's available on amazon.co.uk, but you can order it worldwide. I put free shipping on everyone. So I'm paying the shipping for everyone. if you're based abroad, you might have to pay a bit of taxes, which is outside of my control if you want. But free shipping for everyone. Also available on Etsy, ETSY, which is, I think, a UK, it's like a website like Amazon, but more artistic things, more crafty things, and artistic and personalized and small businesses. Also on my website, marilynruffy.com. So it's available on all those places. I'm also working to, it's available in some health and wellness studios, a bit niche, in London. But if you're listening to this and either you have a shop or you have a website on health and well-being and you want to store this there, please contact me. I would love, it would be like my honor to have this stored in your place, wherever you are. You can contact me on my website. I will put it in the show notes, Marilyn Ruffy, and yeah, we can work from there. We can go from there. So yeah, so that's what everything. The price is £22.99, which includes the free shipping on all orders, whether you're based in, I don't know, Alaska, or if you're based in South Africa. I'm doing the free shipping at least for until Halloween for everyone, as a as a thank you if you want. So that was it for today. Thank you so much. So this is the journal, the Positive Journal on Emotional Eating. You can order it, as I said, amazon.co.uk, on Etsy, and on my website, marilynruffy.com. When you order it, just put, because there's a lot of, of course, I'm not at the top of the SEOs now, so just put the Positive Journal on Emotional Eating. And I would love it if you can send me the feedback, positive or negative. I have many other ideas, and it's the first iteration, so don't worry if you have any negative feedback. It's so exciting for me, a bit scary, very scary. I'd love it if you could support me. And also the ultimate goal is that if it changes your life and helps you overcome emotional eating the way it helped me. So thank you, everyone. I love you, and speak soon.